rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I did a triple fake on you guys. You got 3 for the price of 1. No, I'm just kidding. No, what happened, for those of you on the audio portion of the program, when my Whiskey Warriors were logging in trying to figure out where the hell to go, and I'll explain why here in a minute, there were 3 entries for the live stream. And the reason being is because when I was setting up the stream, the way that I have this all set up is that when I was setting up the stream in Rumble, I have it connected to YouTube and X. I can't do Facebook because Rumble won't stream direct to Facebook, or I should say to a Facebook page. They will to a private account, but not a Facebook page. Well, my page happens to be a page, not a private account. Anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. The point is that when I went in to set up tonight's stream on Rumble, I wanted to add a thumbnail logo. Well, because of the fact that Rumble connects to YouTube and X, in this particular case, YouTube threw it out. YouTube said, no, your thumbnail is more than 2 megabytes in size. And so I didn't see the error message when it first popped up. And so because I didn't see the error message, I couldn't figure out why the stream wasn't being set up in Rumble. So I did it again. And then I finally caught the error message, corrected it, and did it a 3rd time, which is why you ended up with the 3 different streams or the 3 different entries. And so I was able to go back really quickly, clean the other 2 out, and hopefully nobody else is there. I know that for you guys, you probably have to refresh or something like that in order to see the actual stream, because it looks like some people were waiting on the bad stream. So hopefully everybody will catch up. But that's why. That is why. So there you go. That's why there were 3. There should only be 1 now. And yeah. The wonderful fun that we have with technology. You would think that the code would not allow it to set up any streams, but it's kind of interesting because even YouTube had all 3. And I think actually if X had like a landing page that would have all 3, it would have all 3. Anyway, so yeah, Rumble of course reached out to them and reached out to those and was able to put in the streams. But anyway, so there you go. All right. Enough about that. Yeah, those wonderful electronic things that we have going on. So there you go. All right. Well, we are approaching April Fool's Day. Well, it was fitting, of course, that this weekend we had fools running around out in the Americas. You know, they say that there was 8 million people that attended these rallies. That's what the estimates are. And of course, you can't necessarily go by the estimates because the estimates are made up of or by people made up by people who, they want to inflate things. So let's just assume 8. Okay. But here, I'm going to do a little quick math for you. So we have roughly 330 million people in terms of population in America. And if you divide the 8 million divided by 330 million, you'll come up with, just under 2.5%. So just under 2.5%. It's 2.4242424. It continues. So, so just under 2.5% of the population. Roughly the same amount, as I recall, from the last No Kings. So, Anyway, now, if we take that number and we go 8 million and divide that by the number of approximate voters in this country, rounded number, let's just say 160 million, that was only, 5% of the voting population. Yeah, that isn't even enough. That isn't even enough to necessarily do anything. Whatever. 2.5%, 5%. Yeah, whatever. Idiots. Oh, all right. I got some of that. And hey, you know what? I got something for you a little bit later on tonight because I actually agree with Mazie Hirono. Yes, the most stupid senator out of Hawaii. I actually agree with her. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and get things kicked off with none other than BAM. BAM is up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mind, please stand. Remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. And let's follow along with BAM as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And of course, I thank BAM for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. And then address that email to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will, of course, get you into the rotation. I have 23 of these. I'd like to get 26 by the end of 2026. So that means I need 3 more. 3 more. And if you create a file that's too big to email, you can use one of the online free versions of storage, whether it's Google Drive or Dropbox or Box. They'll allow you to create a link that you can then email to me, and I'll be able to download it from there. Also, if you do it on your phone, don't forget to use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E, share option, where you will be able to share it to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will, of course, get you into the rotation. So, let's talk about tonight's headline sponsor, which is, of course, I'm wearing one of their fantastic shirts right here. I love these shirts. This one in particular is the one of the men's cotton polos from these people. They have a fantastic amount of wonderful American-themed shirts, sweatshirts, things of that nature, just all over. It's called theflagshirt.com. Theflagshirt.com is where you can go and check out all of their styles, whether it's men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, and also the featured collection of the America's 250th anniversary. Get yourself something to celebrate and memorialize the 250th anniversary of this country, because let's face it, 250 will never come around again. 300 will, but 250 won't. So go to theflagshirt.com and get your apparel and get prepared for the 250th anniversary, which is coming up in, I believe it's 90-ish, 92 days, 93. I'm probably going to get corrected by my unofficial producer. She'll figure it out. But anyway, the celebration of 250 years as the greatest country to ever grace this planet. And by the way, if you go and order $75 or more of their product, they will give you free shipping. But I know not everybody can acquire $200 or $75 or more of the product all at once. Sometimes you only want one item or maybe two, and that doesn't add up to $75. Well, that's okay. I'm going to help you out. If you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, that's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you will be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. And get yourself $5 off your order. Once again, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get that coupon code. Copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout and at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order on American Perspective. Head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. And yes, Bam did a wonderful job walking around the grocery store and doing the pledge all at the same time. That was amazing. But that's because Bam is amazing. Anyway. All right. Well, I don't know if anybody knows, but CPAC happened this weekend. That's the Conservative Political Action Conference. And what they do sometimes at the CPAC events is they will take what is known as a straw poll to kind of see who might be the successor to the president or who they want to see as the candidate for the next presidential cycle. And last year, CPAC, Vance ran away with it. This year, he kind of didn't. He lost a few points, but that's not bad. That's not bad. So this was in Grapevine, Texas. Grapevine, Texas, where this happened. And they released the poll, the CPAC released the poll. They found that 53% of the more than 1,600 attendees who participated in the survey preferred Vance. Now, yeah. Some of you are like, okay, well, if he only got 53%, who came in second? Believe it or not, it was Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio came in second place, and he had gained considerable ground from his standing in the last year's straw poll. Now, last year, only 3% of those surveys actually chose Rubio, while this year 35% of the CPAC attendees voted for Rubio to succeed Donald Trump. So, yeah, Vance only lost a little bit. He went from 61% to 53%, but he's still in the running. So there you go. Anyway, according to CPAC chairman Matt Schlapp, he told the Daily Signal, for anybody who wants to succeed Donald Trump, they're going to have to work for it, and they're going to have to earn it. That's how President Trump was elected as an outsider, he says. He showed up on every stage, and he made everyone else look implausible. So, there you go. And I don't know what this is, but yeah, you're going away. Anyway, so Yeah, let's just put it this way. I mean, even including names like Ron DeSantis, Senator Ted Cruz, Pete Hegseth, even Donald Trump Jr., none of them received more than 2% of the vote. So right now, it seems pretty clear the American people want a J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, possibly as a ticket. Now, I could see J.D. Vance going in, getting a full 8 years, and then following along with Marco Rubio. So, yeah, that would be kind of cool. Now, Rubio did clarify and classify. He says, hey, if Vance decides to run for president in 2028, I am not going to challenge him. He says, if J.D. Vance runs for president, he's going to be our nominee, and I'll be one of the first people to support him, he told Vanity Fair in an interview published in December. Vance called Rubio his closest friend in the administration. So there you go. Well, that's cool. Hey, it's been a little while since we've had one of these. Let me see here. Yep. It's been a little while since we've had one of these. And that is a Scott Jennings truth bomb. That's right. Scott Jennings was on the Sunday shows, of course. And of course, you know, obviously it had something to do with the No Kings rallies, which, you know, I still am trying to figure this out. I'm still trying to figure this out because you have no kings in America. We haven't had a king since 1776. So guess what? We haven't then, we don't have it now, and yeah, you guys are pretty effective. But anyway, Here is a Scott Jennings throwdown, which I think that everybody needs to understand. Now, I played this video before. I did a precursor check of this video. I'm going to tell you the video and the audio are off kilter. Okay, so don't be surprised here when you see this. All right, but let's go ahead and take a listen to what Scott Jennings did with the panel on CNN.
These No Kings rallies actually look pretty representative to me of the Democratic coalition. I saw people flying the hammer and sickle in New York City. I saw Hezbollah flags. I saw Hamas flags. I saw Palestinian flags. I saw trans signs. I see weirdo liberal boomers out there. This is pretty representative of the Democratic coalition, and that's who funds it as well, by the way. And so I think if America looks at this and says, what do the two parties stand for? They got it at the No Kings rally.
No, I think if you Americans were out there, out there, Republicans.
You like hammer and sickle? You like hammer and sickle flag?
That's not what that No King stood for.
They had a bunch of them.
That, and that is,
they come from somewhere.
All right, well, No Kings rally? I did. I went to 6, and I'll tell you, there's so much excitement.
6?
There's so much energy. Yeah,
that's a lot of free speech.
I'll get you a T-shirt.
That's a lot of free speech for a country with a king.
That's a lot of free speech. And, you know, I'll tell you.
So, yeah. Scott Jennings, of course, explained what was at the No Kings. So, yeah. Trump was at, or he was at, Trump, of course, I think posted, or maybe it was an old post. He said, you know, thank you for, I was a little scared because there was possibly a king coming in and I'm still the president. I'm still your president. Thank you for that. Well, Scott Jennings didn't, of course, end there. He actually had a little bit more to say about the whole shebang.
I can remember how this started. Democrats don't want to have any funding or enforcement of our immigration laws. For this fiscal year, Department of Homeland Security has been shut down 50% of the time. Highly irresponsible. And in both cases, it was Democrats, frankly, just throwing a fit about immigration. That's it. They care more about no immigration enforcement than people moving around the country.
Yeah, of course, that was in reference to the DHS shutdown that happened, or that is continuing because of the leftist lunatic Democrats jumping on the bandwagon for it. Well, anyway. there was some interesting reports that came out about this, about the No Kings protest. They actually come to find out. Now, first of all, I just want it to be known that funding these protests, funding them, is not illegal. Okay, funding the protest is not illegal. However, it is kind of interesting how the No Kings folks sit there and talk about how, oh no, there's no kings, this is grassroots. Really? It's grassroots? With over 500 groups creating up to $3 billion in revenues that are behind these protests and these communist calls for, of course, a revolution, which there has never been a king in America. I mean, we can say that. We can safely say that. Because technically America as a country didn't exist until 1776, when we gave the double-barreled, not-so-family-friendly middle finger to the King of England. But anyway, there's a network of about 500 groups with an estimated $3 billion in combined annual revenues that seem to be behind the coordination nationwide No Kings protest this last Saturday, including communist groups. According to a copy of the permit for the flagship march, okay, in St. Paul, Minnesota, Indivisible, a national, well-heeled democratic political advocacy organization funded by none other than billionaire George Soros, is the lead coordinator of the protest. However, Fox News Digital also identified key participation by a network of radical socialist and communist organizations funded by Neville Roy Singham, who is an American tech tycoon and avowed communist who is living in China. Now, Singham has financed a constellation of activist institutions over nearly a decade that promote revolutionary socialist policies and frequently collaborate in protest campaigns, including the People's Forum in New York, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the Answer Coalition, and Code Pink, whose co-founder, Jody Evans, is actually married to Singham. Now, all of these groups, of course, work closely with the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. Yeah, they're all sending members to the protests. One group said they plan to bring a message of revolution to the protests. Well, there you go. And by the way, on Friday evening at the corner of North Fremont Avenue and North 37th Avenue in Minneapolis, members of the Twin City chapter for the Party of Socialism and Liberation packed a car with stacks of bright red protest signs that they had prepared at a place called the Dream Shop for the demonstration. They're also part of the Singham Network and co-sponsors of the St. Paul protest in particular. Yeah. The Party for Socialism and Liberation. So, keep in mind, across the country, that was in St. Paul, but across the country, similar preparations have been underway among socialist, communist, Marxist activist groups from the Singham Network that have been openly discussed using the demonstrations to spread what they describe as a revolutionary organizing. In New York, the People's Forum called on members to join the New York No Kings protest in an organizing hub in the Singham Network and sent Americans to Cuba in recent days to defend the communist regime there. In Washington, D.C., the Party for Socialism and Liberation called on supporters to assemble as part of a socialist contingent. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, the Freedom Road Socialist Organization instructed supporters to gather at the Rosa Parks Circle stage at noon as part of what it described as the anti-Trump contingent. Freedom Road Socialist Organization activists have previously led aggressive demonstrations targeting ICE operations in Minneapolis. Well, there you go. There you go, folks. They are paid activists. They are paid. This is not a grassroots thing. This is not something that the American people are like, oh, we're all going to join. No, these people are paid, or they are the stupid smart people that are useful idiots. That's literally who they are. That's literally who they are. Now, how do we know this? Well, before I get into that, I can tell you that there were some patriots that decided that they were going to step out and, show these No Kings protesters, these paid protesters, that, well, yeah, you're not exactly, shall we say, wanted. Take a listen to some of these. So here is one in particular. He took a bullhorn and marched in front of the No Kings protesters and kind of let them know what he thought. Let's take a listen.
You guys are retarded. You are a retard. Everybody here is a retard. These people are vaccinated retards. These people are vaccinated retards. These people are vaccinated retards. Anybody that believes these people is a vaccinated retard. I'm leading this protest. I'm the pimp on a blimp. This guy's a vaccinated idiot. Look at these libtards here. Every single one of them is retarded and vaccinated. Now look at these little girls with their guns. Look at these little girls with their guns. Oh, you guys are so scary with your guns and your gay pride flags. Bunch of homos with guns here. Look at these guys. Look at these homos with guns. I'm so scared.
Okay, so let's be honest, all right? Let's be honest. Some of the stuff that he's that he's saying probably isn't exactly the what I would consider to be the best thing to necessarily say, but hey, I mean, the spirit of what he is doing is definitely showing up. And it wasn't just him. There were a couple other people. For an example, somebody went ahead and set up, well, a reception at the end of the parade route for the No Kings protest. And what do you think that was?
This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's ever been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. Help our country heal.
So for anyone who might have caught that, he basically played the Trump acceptance speech at the end of the No Kings protest march. Well, some of these people, and some of the people who were there at the No Kings protest, well, they had a lot more intelligence. And some people went around and did man on the street interviews, and this individual person here, and I'm not sure who this woman is, but she happened to run across a person who, well, let's just say wasn't impressed. Take a listen.
You support the protest?
I don't even know what they're protesting for.
They're protesting that Trump is a king.
Well, I don't think he's a king.
Why don't you think he's a king?
Well, what constitutes making him a king? There's a lot of leaders in other countries that they're dictator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, but I think U.S. is probably the most Democrat society already.
Yes.
I mean, it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but they're not good. So far they're good compared to many other countries.
Yeah.
Right?
Like Trump's good compared to other countries.
Yeah, I mean, you have to compare. You cannot just say, he's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff that he do, I don't like. Stuff he do, he's doing good.
What do you think about people saying that socialism needs to come here in America?
Need to come here?
Yes, people want socialism in America.
Well, this country is founded on what?
Capitalism.
That's right. So it's not socialism.
Yes.
So if they don't like that, they can go to any socialist country to live.
Yeah, they can go to any socialist country to live.
Right.
Yeah. Why do you think they don't go?
They like the freedom, but the other side they contradict themselves.
Yeah.
Now, I know might have been a little difficult to understand, but this gentleman obviously is not a native English speaker. But this gentleman was out, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program, this was in Washington, D.C., and he was just walking by. He appears to be Asian. I don't know what particular origin, but he was sitting there and he basically said what was important at the end, which is essentially, hey, if you support socialism, you shouldn't be here in this country. Go to another country. Go to another country to support that supports socialism. Go there. Why are they here? And this was the question from the from the interviewer. Why are they here? Well, because, as he said, they like the freedom and they contradict themselves. They like the freedom and they contradict themselves. Well, here's another video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's about 2 minutes and 17 seconds, but it shows the dichotomy of the actual No Kings protesters and what a king would seriously look like. Take a listen.
No kings. Unless it was during the pandemic when all the mom and pop businesses were shut down, but the government said it was totally fine for all the major super rich corporations to continue operating. But I didn't really care because as long as I could get my Starbucks and go to Target, I was fine. No kings. Except during the pandemic when we told people that they would lose their job unless they took a certain medical product, or they couldn't even go into certain restaurants without vaccine paperwork. That was crazy, but I didn't really care because I just complied. No kings. Remember when we also told people that they had to not visit their loved ones that were sick and dying in the hospital, the elderly? They had to die alone. That was really sad. We shut down the schools, completely wrecked the developmental learning for a whole generation. I mean, that was tragic, but we don't really talk about that because that's over now. New outrage, no kings. Remember when we were told over and over if we got that medical product, we for sure would not get sick. And even though the people that got it immediately did get sick, we were for sure told they wouldn't spread it. And then that gradually became, well, like 95%, like 75%. Okay, there's no evidence it does what we told everyone it does, but we've already made everyone take it that would anyway. And no one really cared because it's new outrage time, no kings.
Yeah, well, that continues. Because once again, you know, we're looking at a byproduct of individuals who are essentially saying, hey, we want to, you know, we don't want kings. No, what they don't want is they don't want Trump. They don't care about the kings part. They just don't want Trump. That's literally what they don't want. Well, as a part of the No Kings protests, there were people who were out there waving, like a couple of people noticed earlier, they're waving like Palestinian flags. They're waving, sickle flags. I think it was Scott Jennings that was talking about this. Waving Hamas flags, waving all kinds of flags and everything else. And there were some that were waving Iranian flags. And, well, there was somebody there that gave at least one of these people an education on what's happening in Iran. But before I get to that, I need to talk to you about, let me see here. Yeah, let's do this one here. I want to talk to you about Rumble Wallet. Okay? Now, remember, banks can freeze your accounts. They went and they shut off people's credit cards. They locked you out of your own money overnight. There were some people that went ahead and, got all of that taken out. Well, banks won't protect you. They control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. So Rumble created and is introducing the Rumble Wallet. It is a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars. Each one is fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. This is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for actual physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside of the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. Go to wallet.rumble.com. That's wallet, WALLET.rumble.com. Wallet.rumble.com for more details, or download Rumble Wallet from the app stores to get on the Rumble Wallet, and you can go and tip creators directly like me without taking the fees that other platforms do, like YouTube and Twitch or some of those other ones. And as I just pointed out, you can redeem for gold. You can get gold, real gold, in your Rumble Wallet. Go to wallet.rumble.com and check out all of the details today. All right. Well, as I was saying before the break, there was at least one of these places where they had a whole bunch of Iranian flags running around, and all kinds of Palestinian flags and so on and so forth. Well, there's a video out that appears to have gone a little viral, and by a little, I mean potentially a lot viral, where an Iranian woman went to educate one of the leftist lunatics who was protesting on No Kings with a sign that was talking about the Iran war. Let's take a listen to what she has to say.
She's right. Iranians are asking for the bombs. Oh no, they are. I'm a journalist. I'm in contact with Iranian youth who are asking to be bombed. And you are standing here supporting a terrorist regime. What are you doing supporting a terrorist regime? Why are you supporting a terrorist regime? I understand bombing is bad. Convince me of what? Of women not having no rights? I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by that regime. This has got nothing to do with Palestine. This is about a terrorist regime in my country. I can't even go to see my father's grave. I'm left as a refugee. You should think about it.
Now, for those of you that are on the audio portion of the program, this woman, by the way, this is in the UK. This isn't over here in America. This is I kind of made that mistake, but it was a protest that happened on Saturday over in the UK. And they were talking about it's Stop Bombing Iran, Stop the War. It was put together by Stop the War Coalition. And anyway, she's sitting there and she's like, well, yeah, I was actually over there. I'm a journalist in Iran. I was a journalist in Iran, and here's all the things I was imprisoned by the regime. And the more that she talked about it, about what's been going on over in Iran for the last 47 years, this woman's face who's holding this sign, well, it kind of started with a smirk, and then it kind of went away. The smirk went away. Well, the journalist who was basically informing this woman of what was going on, apparently they had a continual conversation after the video that I just showed you was cut. And so here is the journalist again. Now she's speaking, she's doing a voiceover of her image, the imagery of the Stop the War Palestinian flags kind of thing. But she tells you what happened after the camera got shut off. And so let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
So when I was filming that lady, the English lady with the Hands Off Iran poster, she actually broke down crying, and I was crying. She put down the banner. She said she didn't know about everything that was taking place in Iran, and actually had no awareness of what had been taking place in Iran for the 47 years. She said she won't be carrying that banner. I feel happy that I managed to get through to one person. A lot of this comes from a place of not knowing. And the reason that they don't know is because Iran has kept such a tight tab on what gets out.
I would love to say that these people who are going to these things, that they are just plain ignorant, because ignorance is an excuse. Being completely ignorant of a situation is an excuse. It's not a very good one, but it is an excuse because you just flat out don't know any different. The problem that I have, though, is that we live in America. We live in a world where information is at our fingertips on a computer that is on our phone. And so for whoever said that the reason why people are stupid is because of a lack of access to information, and that ignorance is due to a lack of access to information, I don't know what to tell you. Because anybody can go and look up. I mean, I get into arguments with people all the time and discussions with people all the time on the social medias. I give them the title. I give them the date. I give them everything that they need to use in order to look up and find out if I'm actually lying or not. And they refuse to do it. See, that's not ignorance, folks. That's literal stupidity. And speaking of stupidity, the dumbest member, well, arguably one of the dumbest members of Congress, actually said something this weekend publicly that I agree with. I totally agree with her on this. All you have to do is take a look. Senator Mazie Hirono, one of the dumbest people. Okay? One of the dumbest people who can ever grace Congress. Here's her tweet. She says, Donald Trump is not, never will be, and has never been a king. Mazie Hirono, I agree with you 100%. Donald Trump is not now, never will be, and has never been a king. I totally 100% agree with you. Absolutely. For one time, oh my gosh, hell must have just froze over because I actually agreed with Mazie Hirono. She is 100% right. Trump is not. He never will be. And he never has been a king. Because we have no kings in America. Oh my gosh. You know, they say a broken clock is right twice a day. Well, Mazie just hit one of the 2 times. I am 100% in agreement. You're right. You're right, Mazie. Absolutely correct. Oh my Lord. Well, oh yeah. Well, some of these people, like Scott Pressler, he jumped in and he's like, thank you for explaining perfectly why these protests are ludicrous. Mazie Hirono, the leftist lunatic from Hawaii. Yep, she has just stated why. Even Maze Moore on X says, thus no need for no king's protests. Thank you for this. Greatest cell phone ever. Somebody by the name of Harley Cruiser put on a meme that says that no kings thing, we did that in 1776. It's taken care of. Anyway. So, yeah. It's just, I mean, I can't even. Anyway. Yeah. Representative Eli Crane made a comment. He goes, brave of her to scold her own activists like this. He won the popular vote in every single swing state. He is the president, not the king, the president of the United States. Chip Roy goes, so you agree? You think your no kings rallies are stupid? Yep. Molly Hemingway says, correct. Not sure why you're defending him this way, but correct. Anyway. All right. Well, let's scoot on. Chris Van Hollen, who is probably up there in terms of let's just put it this way. There's so many dumb Democrats in Congress, whether it's representatives or senators. I mean, there's so many of them that are so damn dumb that I'll be honest with you, I can't really pick who is the dumbest. But it's pretty sad when you go on to a Democrat-friendly network with a message, and that Democrat-friendly network and their Democrat-friendly host smacks you down, which is exactly what happened. Because Chris Van Hollen clashes with ABC News host John Carl yesterday, questioning him over what have the Democrats actually achieved in keeping the Department of Homeland Security shut down. Let's take a listen to this exchange.
And blocked the funding for the Department of Homeland Security because you object, as you just outlined, to what ICE has been doing, and you wanted to force changes. And yet, the only thing that has been sure, I mean, I guess what's confusing here is you have fought and blocked the funding for the Department of Homeland Security because you object, as you just outlined, to what ICE has been doing, and you wanted to force changes. And yet, the only thing that has been assured throughout all of this is that ICE already has the money. Because as you said, $75 billion passed in the budget bill last year. So you're holding up the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security because you object to ICE and you want changes to ICE. But through it all, ICE continues to have the money.
But John, we're not holding up all of the money for all the Department of Homeland Security. That's just a false statement. We have said repeatedly.
Well, wait. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop that. How? Anyway, here he goes.
Repeatedly, we should fund TSA. We should fund FEMA. We should fund the Coast Guard. We are not prepared to give ICE another $10 billion.
Okay. So, yes, you agree that we should fund all of those other items, but you're not funding all of those other items. Okay. I just want to make sure that I got that straight.
Yeah. On top of the monies they already have and are using in many of these lawless operations, we're not going to give them another $10 billion unless they make fundamental reforms,
that $10 billion,
holding people accountable for the killing of American citizens.
And fighting over that additional $10 billion, you are holding up the rest of Department of Homeland Security.
We're not holding it up. I mean, you're saying, no, John, we're not holding it up. We have now voted 10 times.
Right, but you're holding up unless it doesn't include money for ICE. That's just a fact.
Unless it doesn't include money for ICE, a very reformed ICE. That's right.
Which already has the money.
Why not fund TSA now? That's what we've said.
I mean,
yeah. That was already yeah. Anyway, so sure. Oh, Chris Van Hollen. What a moron. What a complete and utter stupid moron. Just to be clear about the entire thing. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway. Oh, these people. I just got to tell you, they're just fabulous. They are just fabulous. Well, we haven't heard from Tom Homan, the Bulldog, in a while. So I figured I'd go ahead and include a Tom Homan clip in here because he showed up where host Margaret Brennan on CBS. Margaret Brennan on CBS tried to frame this DHS thing as a White House issue, and well, Tom Homan was having none of that. Take a listen.
Why wasn't the White House able to get both heads of the party the president controls on the same page?
Look, I've been up on the Hill. I've been in these meetings. I've met with lawmakers from both sides. This isn't a White House issue. This is the Democrats shutting down the Department of Homeland Security.
So did you support the Republican bill in the Senate that passed?
I support Congress opening up the entire government, the entire DHS, and not holding people in DHS hostage because they don't like immigration enforcement.
You weren't on board with the Senate bill. I support opening up the entire government. I'm with the president.
Yeah. So there it is. There it is. All right. Well, anyway, he's with the president. Well, there was another person who kind of stuck their foot in their mouth. It had to deal with Jimmy Kimmel. Nighttime, Jimmy Kimmel. And, Jimmy Kimmel was talking about Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen being a former plumber. And, well, the man himself, the advocate for blue collar across the world, man himself, Mike Rowe, had something to say about that. He put in a very long post on X. He says, if you haven't heard, and even if you have, Jimmy Kimmel said this about Mark Wayne Mullen, former senator from Oklahoma and our newest Secretary of Homeland Security. We have a plumber now protecting us from terrorism. He says, apparently there has been some backlash. Plumbers were offended, obviously, as were parents of plumbers, spouses of plumbers, children of plumbers, and millions of people who have had a plumber show up when they needed one. Comedians were also offended. The funny ones, anyway. along with a surprising number of terrorists, especially those with access to hot and cold running water. However, in spite of the ensuing kerfluffle, Jimmy Kimmel doubled down. Here's how Jimmy Kimmel doubled down on his stupidity. He says, "I'm not upset that the head of Homeland Security was a plumber," he said. "I'm upset that he still isn't a plumber." He further elucidated by adding, "I wouldn't put a plumber in charge of Homeland Security for the same reason I wouldn't call a 5-star general to pull a rat out of my toilet, okay? We all have our areas of expertise." Well, Roe, of course, makes a great point, because he says, "I'm a tad butthurt by the suggestion that skilled workers should never evolve into something new, and that competence is somehow limited to only one vocation. Obviously, expertise and skill are important. If I need a new kidney, I prefer a doctor to do the surgery, not a late-night talk show host. But if the doctor in question used to be a host of a talk show, why would I hold that against him?" You got to think, folks. Dr. Ben Carson was a brilliant brain surgeon, but he chose to stop what he was doing there and enter the political space running for president in 2016, becoming the secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development in the first Trump administration, and is now serving as a special advisor in this second Trump administration. So is Dr. Carson any less competent at any of these professions because it was his choice to aspire to be something different? Yeah. As another example, Senator Blackburn, Marsha Blackburn, won her seat in 2018 after working in sales and retail fashion, then founding her own marketing and event management company that she successfully ran for over 30 years. Blackburn is the first woman to have ever been elected as a U.S. Senator from Tennessee. Yeah. Mike Rowe continues and says, "I don't think the current shortage of welders has anything to do with an overabundance in philosophers." He goes, "In fact, I think it's a mistake to promote one vocation at the expense of another. What we really need in this country are more welders who can talk intelligently about Aristotle, or more philosophers who can run and even bead. More generals, in other words, who can fix their own toilets, and more plumbers who can hold a powerful government job." Now, Rowe then continues and says, "This is what Mullen did. He was a private citizen who mastered an essential skill, and then turned that skill into a multi-million-dollar company that employed a lot of people and served a lot of customers. That gave him the freedom to do other things with his life, including a career in public service, which got him into Congress, where he spent the last 11 years doing whatever congressmen do. Now he has a very consequential position in the cabinet of the current administration." See, this is why, we're dealing with incredibly stupid people here. Seriously. And Mike Rowe very nicely and very eloquently just called out Jimmy Kimmel, the idiot, who's on a late night talk show that isn't really doing all that well. Yeah. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor. If you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, thumbs sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.